Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Rob Chafe, Mad Convocation.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Todd Novak. Welcome to the Guitar Knobs podcast. We're till the death here listening to our show. We've got a super duper fun night or day, depending on where you're at when you're listening to this. But for us, it's at night. And I've been looking forward to this episode. This is our 4 on the floor Tube Screamer variant show.
Variant.
Yes.
I am
How
a
long
variant.
did you work on that title?
I didn't. I just forgot it.
You just forgot it.
music.
Yeah, it came to me real fast, but I just forgot it.
You need to clap.
Yeah. Anyways, in the meantime, while these chuckleheads are making racket, we've got a very special guest in our studio today.
Did you say, hey, it's me, Todd Novak?
I did.
Oh, I missed that part.
Oh.
Could you do it again? I
Nope.
missed it.
It was sort of a word salad.
It
a
was.
long string of.
All right, go
sounds.
ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
I'm Bobby Withers. Guitar.
With a name like Bobby Withers.
It's a good name.
What else can you can either
See.
just be like a professional truck driver, like one of those jumping ones, or a guitar
I see.
player.
Yeah.
There's only
Monster
two.
trucks.
Or
Yeah.
you race like funny cars. Yeah.
Yeah,
I get that a lot. I mean,
or you used to be a professional
Truck driver,
athlete,
the
but
ones
now
that
you
jump,
own
you
like
know?
a restaurant.
yeah, I'm somewhere in between those two right
Yeah.
now.
Well, anyways, you're a local,
Music legend.
really good guitar player.
Oh, thanks.
From what I hear,
Yeah.
and from
You've
what
heard
Rob
it,
tells me.
Depends on who you ask.
And
Yeah.
you've heard
Yeah.
him play, too. I gave you some samples.
Yeah, I know.
I
that's-
sent you a bad video today.
Yes. So, anyways, we are glad to meet him. He's a friend of Rob's primarily, and now he's a friend of ours. And
No.
guess what? He's a friend of yours now.
I am
everybody.
a client of Rob's.
Oh.
There's a clear distinction. He was very clear about that.
Does he charge
Well,
He says it every time
Yeah,
he opens the
this
door. He
is
says,
true.
"Hello, come on in, client."
yeah,
he's very.
yeah, I do
you? Clients on that side of
he's
the
good.
room.
No,
He's
you
got
have to
very
pay
clear
him
boundaries.
before you
Yeah,
go
that's what I was
in,
gonna say.
though.
I
There's
do
a little
require a
slot
credit
at the door.
card.
I haven't
before,
paid him
yeah.
in 5 years. I haven't because I was
know.
telling him the other day. The problem is he's so good at what he does that for me at least, he's running himself out of business because all my stuff just works. Like,
That's good.
Unless I get new stuff, I don't
gotta-
really need him.
Drop the standard. I'm working on that.
Okay, well, anyways, we're going to have a great time because we are going to discuss. We got 4 pedals here, and they are all, as I said, Tube Screamer variants, which means we don't have like a 1-to-1, 100% 1-to-1 clone of a Tube Screamer. Rob,
No.
that heater is so hot. My gosh. Can we turn that down a
Take
little
your
bit?
hoodie off.
No, it's
I think it's great.
I put my hand right here, and it's like hot.
The 2 guys in t-shirts are loving it.
It's
So,
melting the pedal board.
Speaking as one of 2 guys in t-shirts.
You
Yeah.
can keep it on.
There we go.
I turned it down a little bit.
Oh, thanks, bud.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to turn it off. Don't worry.
Oh, I know. All right.
Are you going to just move those oranges all day?
I've got 2 cutie oranges, and
handling
they're
them.
right by my computer, and I just keep moving them.
You get one more, you can
Just
juggle.
See,
likes them
I
in his
have-
hands.
He's practicing to be a doctor.
Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. So now that shenanigans is out of the way, we are going to have a lot of fun. We're talking about some great pedals. All that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a great one. Let's get into it. But first, let's just find out a little bit what's going on in our music world. Starting off with Tony Baloney,
Yeah.
and then we'll check in with Bobby.
Oh, well, yeah. So this week, this is a good one. I got my Tone Pros order in. I work directly with Tone Pros or their distributor, Marquee. And Tone Pros, for those of you who don't know, their specialty is kind of locking bridges. When I say locking, they
set screws.
Set screws, not like a Kaler or anything
So
like that.
like a Gibson, so it doesn't
Yeah,
fall
I
off
have
or
one on
wiggle.
my on my junior.
Yeah. And what I really like them for is they also have the locking studs that actually clamp down. You can bring it down because if you have a wraparound tailpiece, inevitably the it tries to lift and it raises your action. Whereas if you clamp these the tops down on the Tone Pro studs, they stay flat. And so that's how I first got into them. But I just thought it was kind of funny. My order came in, and I don't know if I ever talked about Dwight Devereaux, who started the company.
That's a name.
Yeah.
That's like a guy who created like a car or something.
Well, it gets better.
My name's Dwight Devereaux.
Dwight started Tone Pros after a pretty long career in studio musicianship, but his biggest thing that probably made him the most money and gave him the most money is he was a guitar player for Tommy Two-Tone.
Oh, yeah.
And he made a lot of money. a lot of money.
A shipyard load full.
By the song 8675309.
No. Never heard it.
Baby, I got your number.
So I just thought, I always thought, the first time I met him at one of the NAMM shows, we got to talking a little bit, and I asked him how he got started. He said, "Oh, I'm tired of telling this story pretty much, but yeah, I used to be in Tommy Two-Tone." But there was a picture of him that I think it was a Corvette or something, and the license plate was 8675309.
Wow. Very cheeky.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyhow, great stuff. You can get it, I think, both All Parts, WD,
Everywhere.
most music stores. And I there's a lot of dealer networks set up,
Excellent.
myself included.
That's fantastic. Okay, Bobby.
Okay, now you know I wasn't prepared for this.
Why not?
I asked you
You've heard the show,
specifically.
man.
You've heard the show. Don't we do this every?
I said any questions I got to prepare for.
You don't have to prepare. If you have to
Okay.
prepare for
All
this,
right.
you're off the show.
It's instant recall.
The door is
Okay, here
that
we go.
way.
I've got two. Just a couple days
You
ago.
just need one. I don't know if, yeah.
Well, they're too small.
There are rules.
Okay, well, I'll give you two, and then you cut out whichever one you
Okay,
want to use.
that sounds good.
Earlier this week, or I guess over the weekend, I finished, I think, notes pending, I finished a mix on a very super top secret project that I'm working on.
Oh.
Rob knows a little about it.
Can you talk about it if it's so top secret though? Because it's
Well,
not top secret anymore.
It's top
yeah,
secret
it's
in the
anything.
sense
It's
that,
like it's gone out in a group chat. you
Yeah,
know?
don't let Pete Hegseth know.
yeah, right, exactly. It'll be in the New Yorker or whatever. I finished that mix. I'm really happy with it. It was really challenging, and at first I thought I was just going to scrap it, and then it just sort of clicked, and I got it, and I'm really proud of this stuff. And
Nice.
I'm excited to share it with
Congrats.
the world. And even if nobody likes it, I don't care.
Who cares?
Audience
They're
of one.
going-
I love it.
That's
They're
great.
all going to love it.
Rob says it's good, but we'll see.
I think you could make $1 million off this stuff.
I could.
Wait.
If there's anything I could use, it's $1 million.
Yeah.
Yes.
Second thing, after almost 8 years, I might have to do the math on that. My name finally came up on the Analog Man King of Tone waiting list. Or 7 years, I guess. I got on the
Wow.
list in August of,
So you're gonna-
of 2018. And here's the thing: I don't even want it anymore.
Well,
But I wanted it so bad.
if nothing else, though, so, I mean, get your one, flip it.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
that just feels dirty. That
no,
feels
you
scummy.
paid your dues. You
You waited
did
7
for-
years.
Well, in 2018, all of my gear was stolen. All of it. I had lost a 71 twin reverb, 72 twin reverb.
That's a hard thing to lose.
Yeah, and I lost 3 or 4 guitars, one of which was not completely paid for. So there's been that.
You mean it was stolen?
It was all
Yeah, it was
stolen,
stolen.
but I hadn't
No, I
finished
mean
paying
you
it
stole
off.
it.
Well, yeah, in a way, it's sort of double stolen. Yeah, now it's
I
actually
had this guitar that I stole and got it
yeah,
stolen.
it's very special.
No,
It's been
he's not a
stolen
stealer.
twice, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I started rebuilding my rig. Rob, I bought one of the kitchen sink mod
juniors.
Blues Juniors, which is insane. Every time I have it on stage, people don't believe me when I tell them it's a Blues Junior. I liquidated my retirement fund at the time, and I bought a custom shop Telecaster and like 4 pedals. And I was like, I'm going to get on the King of Tone waiting list. And that was when I lived in a different house, and
That's
one of my children wasn't
crazy.
alive at that point, and now they both
different.
exist and they have thoughts.
Wow. And they're going to college.
Yeah, next week. Yeah. It starts in April. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm on the list. It's come up. They were clear in the email that like you don't have to move on this right away. You can wait. So I'll probably wait forever. But I actually reached out to a few friends. Anybody listening, maybe that like
Want one,
if somebody wants one,
For
you
a
can
fee.
have have my spot for $1,000.
What's the actual sale price from Analog?
It depends on the options, the things that you choose. I think it hovers around like anywhere from like $260 to $400,
Yeah.
depending on, which is a
Variety
great
if you want
price
all
for that
the
pedal.
stuff. Yeah.
Honestly, if I had it, I think I would just put it on a shelf and look at it. I have a Prince of
But
Tone.
you might love it. You might fall in
Probably
love with
not.
it. Okay.
I have a Prince of Tone, and it's great. It's just not my thing. And so, which is weird because I love blues breakers. But that one is just different. And I shoehorned it into my rig when I should have maybe tuned some other things around it. But
Yep.
it just was like, I used it a few times. It was great. It's cool. It's purple. It's cool to have.
Yeah.
But it's been on a shelf for 2 or 3 years. So, but it is exciting that my name came up.
Well,
That is cool.
congratulations.
Yes. Well done.
Thanks.
You win.
Yes.
Rob.
I got a guitar today.
And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful Lake Placid blue.
Yeah, Lake Placid Blue. Shut it. Ocean Turquoise, Sir T.
Metallic.
Yep. Classic T. Very cool guitar. So
You,
we'll see.
You
It
only
is.
have Telecasters?
I am very fond of the T-shaped body.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of in that arena too.
It just feels like home. Everything else is awkward and yeah.
I totally understand.
It's hard to beat. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so few things to go wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
the utilitarian, just the flat.
Just a
I even like,
slab of wood.
and especially when I go with something that's traditional T pickups and bridge and everything, no contours. I want the flat.
I don't want the belly cut. I want it to stick off my body.
It feels different. It hangs different. You know.
Sure does.
So anyway, so I'm excited about it. Got a good price. So
Why
we'll
did
see.
you get how many is this?
Oh, I don't know. I'm always buying and selling, moving stuff.
Okay,
but
why did you get this one? Just because you're like, that's cool.
No, because of the pickups. Actually, John has a silent single coil SSC system. He has a dummy coil underneath the pick routed into the body, and I haven't tried this system yet. So I want to see
okay.
what it sounds like.
Is that what you talked with him at the show about?
I don't. I bugged him about a couple things, and he looked at me like I was crazy. So I don't remember.
Yeah.
He looked at you like you were crazy.
Yeah, yeah, a little
imagine.
bit. But yeah, so that's why I got it. And but here's part of this. So
Is Mr. Anderson going to get upset about this?
I don't think I own 5 or 6 of those. So
Okay.
so I think he's safe right now. But so I got soft reverb, and the guy posted pictures, said, there are 2 dings on the lower bout of the body here. There's 1 little thing on the neck. We negotiated price. I got it. I'm all good. I'm hoping I'll keep it maybe forever, but realistically, it's a commodity. I'm going to sell it at some point, so I can't get into it upside down, right?
Yep.
It shows up and doesn't have 2 dings on it, has 6 dings on it, and then a bunch of little dimples on the back. So it's like noticeably worse condition.
See, that kind of stuff just simply does not bother me.
Well,
I prefer it.
It doesn't, and if it was disclosed, but knowing that,
If it could have saved you some money, then absolutely.
well,
Yeah.
and there you
it
go.
It might
If I-
decrease the value
That's
overall.
it absolutely will, because now when I sell it, I disclose everything.
Yeah.
Close up. I always try to make it look worse than it really is.
Right.
So the most,
Yeah,
So
under-
It's like
Sell
when you buy a
over-deliver.
record and it says, "Oh, it's near mint," and you're like, "This is very good at best."
that's
You
right. And you've
bozo.
paid for
Right.
near
That's
mint. So
customer
if you go to
service.
sell it, then I
Exactly.
eat the. So when I go to sell that, let's assume I just got fair market value, what it was for excellent condition. I'm out $200, $300, $400 immediately
Yeah.
if I turn that tomorrow, because I'd have to
Yeah.
put all this extra.
based on damage.
Are you
that
going to threaten
didn't-
them?
Well, no. So I sent him a nice email and just said, hey, love the guitar. Guitar's fantastic. Unfortunately, there was a lot of extra damages. I took some close-up pictures. I said, so I'm not sure what we can do about this. And he said, well, I usually don't do refunds on guitars, but I'll take it back as long as you pay freight. And then I very politely was like, well, actually, Reverb policy is if it's not as described, you pay freight both ways.
little dicey.
And you have to take it back.
Mr. Hardball.
Well, no, I mean, if you're going to be a seller and
Yeah.
you're going to, it is what it is.
He's relying on the fact that there are so many guys like me that'll go, oh, yes, sir, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because I just like path of least resistance. I just, whatever's easiest.
If someone's
that's what I'll
real
do.
cool, and he was cool as far as apologizing, say, hey, I'm very sorry about that. We always try to make, detailed description and everything. But then he followed up with, well, we usually don't even do refunds. But I was like, well,
Right.
wait, this isn't a buyer's remorse
So
kind of thing,
are you
dude.
is he going to give you a little bit off the?
I told him I'd think about it overnight and see where I want to be.
Show
and
it to all my friends.
Can he just
play it
give
a
you some
bunch.
money back?
He could. If it were me, that's exactly what I would have offered immediately.
Yeah.
Did you ask for that?
No, not yet.
That's
Okay.
the right move, though. You don't position it for yourself. You throw the ball
I was
over.
hoping that he would be like, hey, I'm really sorry. I know we already negotiated this price. I don't have much. If I throw you this back, will that help you?
Yeah.
I want to make this right. He didn't offer that. So it's like, well,
He hasn't offered that.
Okay.
we'll see.
So remains to be seen what's going on.
So, yeah.
You want I should get some of my Youngstown boys to pay him a visit?
Oh,
Jeez.
that's one way to go about this.
Yeah.
Todd, no, nobody cares. Doesn't matter.
What about you, Todd?
Well, actually, I got to hang out with my pal Hex. And
Where was
twice
Hector?
this weekend, which was cool because he lives up in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I was up there scouting for a video shoot, and I said, "Hey, man, I'm gonna scoot over there." He had some pedals that I had loaned him, and I got those back, and we just hung out and have a good time. I took one. I said, I haven't tried this combination on my pedal board, and it's the Hello Sailor, the first pedal that he gave to me, which is a combo of a Rangemaster and his broadside drive, I think it's called. Anyways, I haven't really, I guess, been friends with that pedal as much as I wanted to until I put it in front of the Tony Baloney, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's like a Rangemaster thing.
Oh
though?
my gosh, it sounds freaking fantastic. I was like, how. Well, at least I'm glad I tried it because I could have just said, "Oh, okay, you're good for certain things, but maybe not for this." But I had that and I put it in front. I was like, "That's it. I think I'm done."
Nice.
Cool.
Till next week.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
I think I'm honestly, it sounded just absolutely stellar.
Sell everything else. This is me now.
Yes.
This is
yes.
how I sound.
Yes. So I was very happy about that. We went through it in practice, and we have a new bass player. So trying to figure out how my tone and his tone work together, and it was like chef's kiss. So
What a good
thanks,
feeling.
Joe. Okay, let's get on with this, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, I should say I'm not going to go through the whole rigmarole, but this particular show is definitely sponsored by Tour Gear. We've
Oh,
got
my God, yeah.
several patch cables in front of us. We love them. We know that those who have gotten them have loved them, and we think that you will too. Go to tourgeardesigns.com, load up your cart, hit buy, and then you're going to get a coupon area, and you can put the guitar knobs in. You're going to save 15% off your order. Just go do it. Thank you to Tour Gear for sponsoring our 4 on the floor. Something like that. 1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a board here, a little pedal train Metro, and this board is loaded. Loaded. It's a 20, Metro 20. We've got our Peterson tuner there, which I'm not a big whatever.
It works.
Yeah, it's good.
I like the big one.
I like the TC Mini myself.
Oh,
Why? So you can tune all 6 strings at once?
yeah.
No, it's because I can see it really
so,
well.
he
It's
can,
just
so he
bang.
can see that all the 6 strings are out of
They're
tune.
all wrong. Yeah.
Anyways, this is not the
Peterson's
tuner
great.
show. We
Peterson, I love
might
you so
have
much.
to do a board that's just tuners.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be fun.
I mean, we probably should, right? No? Okay. We have
He said
in
no.
place number 1, and this has no bearing on what our likes are, but just so we know which way we're going to go. We're starting with the Earthquaker Devices Plumes, followed by the Way Huge Green Rhino Mark IV. That is the arguably most desired one
Yeah.
out there. Followed by the Cryptid Audio Investigations Banshee Drive. Cryptid Audio was on our show
Yeah.
a couple months ago. Great dude,
Local
local
dude.
guy. And then last but not least, the East River Drive by Electro Harmonics.
Can I
Now,
ask a stupid question?
please.
Something I asked my phone today.
Okay.
Electro Harmonics
Yes.
is EHX, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's just a shortened. Okay. All right.
Yes.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Dr.
And,
Dum
and
Dum.
I just need to qualify. He really is good at guitar, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I am I'm the best
you
guitar
got the
player in my
gear.
house. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we call them variants. Tony, why are these variants?
Well, because they take let's just say, a tube screamer
Ish.
drive, and
sound.
they make some tweaks and changes and knobs and twiddles and things, and they come up with their own version
Right,
of a tube screamer.
right.
And what is a tube screamer, Todd?
Well, and most of these, I should say, aside from the overall circuit change, they have given us a lot of options to further tweak said sound, except for, good point, the East River Drive. That's a pretty straight ahead one. We'll get into the controls in just a little bit, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
All right. So, everybody's familiar with the Tube Screamer pretty much at this point. Rob, you're probably the most familiar with the Tube Screamer. And before we go a step further, one of the reasons that I found this to be an interesting episode is because I have multiple times on this show said, I do not like the Tube Screamer. Mm-hmm. You don't. Bobby doesn't like Tube Screamer.
No.
I don't like Tube Screamer.
Yeah, I'm more of an MXR D+.
Okay. So, Rob?
Depends on which one you use it for.
Okay. So, Rob's on the
Yeah.
fence, but the three of us are off
I'm
the
okay
fence.
with any of the different
It
variants,
is
depending on how you're
situationally
using
dependent,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The standard Tube Screamer, I've never been friends with. But that's why I said, well, I'm not going to let that get in the way of some awesome guitar stuff. So let's see what this happens to reveal. We're going to start off with the plumes. We've each spent time with this board and done our due diligence and tried to be good little boys and make sure that we know what we're talking about. I will say that the Earthquaker plumes, these are all brand new pricing for everybody.
Oh,
The plumes is $120, brand new. The Way Huge Green Rhino Mark IV, which I think you can still buy new ones of these.
Yeah, you can still. It's done up.
Is $150. The Cryptic Audio Investigations Banshee Drive is $120, and the Electro Harmonics East River Drive is $81.60.
Right.
All right.
I thought that was coming.
So let's check out the Earthquaker Devices plumes. They call it a small signal shredder. I'm going to talk about the controls here, and then we'll just kind of go around the horn. We can lead off. We'll lead with Tony and swing around the table.
Well, why don't we start with describing the controls that are on said
That's
pedal?
exactly what I was doing.
Okay.
Okay, the controls are level, gain, and tone.
Yeah.
Okay, and most of these have the classic 3 knob setup, minus a few extra toggles and other bits. But there's also a 3-way switch. This 3-way switch has 3 positions. That's why it's a 3-way switch.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's
That's
crazy.
a good name for it, then.
I know.
It's convenient.
Who knew? The first is a symmetrical LED clipping.
Yep.
Which generally translates to more crunch and compression. The second is a no clipping, which is wide open op-amp drive.
They call
or
it a clean
boost, right? And then number 3 is the asymmetrical silicon diode clipping, which kind of, as they say, gives more transparency with a looser feel.
Yeah.
Okay? That's an interpretation that we can confirm or
Okay.
deny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is how they described it.
Yes. Okay, Tony,
Yes.
go.
Are we saving which we?
Yes.
Okay, that's for later. So, my experience with this, and as all of these, I set everything at noon just to see. That's my starting point.
Right.
I really liked the clean boost, the middle switch position. To me, bypassing the diodes works really well on this pedal. I'm sure it works well on many of these other. Well, it does work, with the exception of the East River. I found it to be a little more.
What amp are you running that through, by the way, too? We should establish
So
that.
I ran it through 2 because I got, last time I only ran it through my Vox. That's AC 15. And then I also have a trainer, more recent all-tube trainer. Is it a 30 watt, 60 watt? I forget what it is.
30.
Is it a 30?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rob knows.
Yeah. And I like using that one because the clean channel on that is a good starting point. My Vox is dirty all the time.
Well, and that's, yeah. So now your interpretation of dirty is what I would bet most people would say that's clean.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
probably in that camp.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah. It's like, oh, it's clean because I just roll it, my volume back to 8, and it's perfectly clean.
Yeah.
And then even when it's dirty,
So-
it's not dirty. you
yeah,
know.
so I
you're
will-
a pretty clean player.
Yeah, I prefer, but I like a little grit, and that's why I like the
Yeah,
Vox.
right,
And
right.
if I really dig in,
Yeah.
that's the sound
A
that I
little
like.
grit, yeah.
But I like the Trainer because it is, like I said, it's a good starting point. The clean channel. I mean, if you really hit it hard, it'll break up a bit, but it's mainly-
more Fender like.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly
Yeah,
what it's
yeah.
like.
Cool. I'm
So
glad.
that's what I started. I found the plumes to be, it seemed to have a little more flavor than
Which
a
guitar
typical
are you
tube
using
screamer.
this through, by the way?
This was my Telly.
Okay.
I'd like
Okay.
just 2 single coil
Gotcha.
Telly. And to me, from my ear at least, knowing what most tube screamers sound like, or many tube screamers sound like, this one had a little more ability to kind of adjust the tonality a little bit. And I think especially the switch. I was not a big fan of the asymmetrical, and the symmetrical LED. It was okay. If I had to choose a true distortion channel or this, I guess channel, we'll call it a channel, I would probably go with a symmetrical LED. To me, that sounded, the clipping that came out of that sounded more like I was expecting.
So like if
Yeah,
you're
like an overdrive.
Yeah.
Like
if you were going to use this not so much as the clean boost, but you were like, okay, I need this to be more.
if
of an
I needed
overdrive.
a distortion, I would go to the symmetrical LED.
Where did you end up putting the tone knob?
I ended up scooping out some. I started at 50%, and I took it down to, maybe instead of noon, it was at 11 o'clock.
Okay, that's not too much.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and because I tried it, I moved things up, and I did not like the brightness, especially when it was distorting.
It is a bright pedal.
Yeah. So that was my experience.
Bobby,
Okay, where do I start? So,
with the plumes.
well, yeah, I know that. I got that part.
Just helping you out.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Thank you so much. Historically speaking, I have never found a good use for a tube screamer. I know that there are good uses, but I am sort of a caveman, 1 or 2 sound pony. Like when I play,
What kind of music are you playing, by the way?
yeah,
for
so it's
reference?
like I'm a little bit of a chameleon. Like it's an ADHD thing, right? So I get into a genre of music, and that's what I play for 5 or 6 years, and then now I'm sick of it. It's over. It's not novel anymore. Let's move on. So right now I'm in my sort of country southern rock phase, and I
Okay.
really like it because I think it speaks to who I was as a child, like growing up, like. And so, I mean, there was a time where I had a JCM 900. I was in college, and I had 2 4x12 cabs, and like I would take that to shows, like at bars, in Athens, Ohio, not Greece. But maybe a tube screamer would have served me really well there. But nowadays, once I find something that works, and I'm a little anxious, if I don't have to think about it, that's the answer. If I
Okay.
know, even if it's 85% of the sound I really want, if I know it's dependable and I know it works, that's it. Step on it, let's go. And so nowadays, what I'm doing is a clean amp, 50 or a 68 Vibrolux reissue, right? The 210s. Rob convinced me on the Jensen speakers. That was a good move. They sound really good. But it is a clean amp. Like, you would have to turn it up incredibly loud to get any sort of, for me at least. I'm not, I don't like being
Right.
super duper loud. And so now it's a clean amp thing. And most of the gigs that I do and most of the studio stuff I do is like, I want a good bass sound, like a foundational sound,
yeah.
and then I'll put maybe 1 or 2 things on top of it, and that's it.
Okay.
There was a time where I had, like I said earlier, an older Fender twin reverb. At that time, I felt like the Ibanez Mini Tube Screamer was the perfect always-on sound for that amp. And it might have just been because it was so bassy and so scoopy that when I threw that Mini Tube Screamer, I had a TS-808 and a TS-9, and neither of them sounded right, but then that Mini just sounded perfect. And it was just like, oh, cool, that just sounds like a loud amp, right? So what I did with this was, how would I use this? It wasn't as exploratory as maybe it could have been. Like, I wasn't going, okay, high gain sounds, this or that. It's like, if I had to throw these pedals into my
I think
rig
most of us
tonight,
did really pretty much approach it like that, and that gives us the better range of
so that's kind of what I did. And for each of these, I did 3 quick tests. One was only the pedal, so I'm using a Chase Gullet, a beautiful Chase Gullet built guitar that I sent you guys a video of today, that I've been referring to as the Telebastard. Can I say that?
Yes.
It's a Les Paul.
I have a Jazz Bastard over there.
Oh, cool.
That he
maybe they're
too.
brothers from other mothers.
It might be, yeah.
It is a Les Paul Junior style guitar, but it's got a Lawler Tele 52 pickup in the bridge, a Tele bridge, and then a low wind Lawler P90 in the neck, and like a chicken head knob. It's hideous. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I'll show you a picture. It's like, I asked Chase to build it, and he was like, "Are you sure this is what you want?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "What color?" And I was like, "The ugliest yellow you could find." And for like weeks, he would spray it and then send me a picture and go, "How's this?" I'd go, "Nope, not enough." I love that guitar. So the first scenario was that guitar straight into one of these pedals into an amp. If I had to play a show tonight, how would I use this?
Right.
I found that the Plumes Toggle 1, because that was sort of the most overdrive-y sound. You know, the middle position is really cool, but into a clean amp, it wasn't really doing anything for me. I had the level and the tone at 9 o'clock, and the tone was a little below 9. So maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like every overdrive pedal I've ever loved, when I put the tone knob or the equivalent for that pedal at noon, it's super ultra bright. Now, maybe that's the way I have everything else set up. I don't know. But consistently, I'm rolling tone off always. Drive around 11 o'clock. This is where I wrote that was that low mid congestion thing, like 250 hertz. It might have just been the room I was in, but it just had this sort of boxy sound that I couldn't escape. It's like, I can make it work, but I didn't love it. I said it was a little stiff, sounds like a tube screamer, and I was a fan of the touch sensitivity. The fact that if I played lighter, it really would pass for a clean sound, and then when I would dig in with a pick, it got real hairy real fast. So, yeah, I liked it.
Okay.
In the second situation was with a little bit, and we talked about this before the podcast. I spent years searching for the low to medium gain overdrive that really sounded good and felt good. And after years of searching, I realized what I need to do is put a compressor in front of it, get the sustain and the feel from the compressor, and then use the character of the drive on top of it. So in that second situation, I loved it. But I did find that it was super duper bright, and I rolled the tone almost all the way to 0. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, pretty similar. So the way I was testing these, I personally have never found a use for a tube screamer on a Fender clean. And as far as I know, that's what they were never designed for. They were designed to put in front of an amp that's already breaking up, that's already make the tube scream, you know?
Yeah.
So I did kind of test them quickly through a clean Fender, and I don't know, but after 3 minutes, I was like, "This is just pointless."
Yeah.
So I went back to how I would use it, which is through a low, medium Marshall kind of setup, like a Plexi, a 50 or 100 watt Plexi, or even an 800, which I think is how most people now are using a tube screamer. So with all that said, the Plumes is a bright pedal. Anything above 9 o'clock, I was like, this is ridiculous. It is so bright. Depending on what amp I was running it through, if I was running through an 800 where I wanted it to just push the front end just a little bit, not really create any distortion on its own, the no clipping diode was a great way to go. And that added, it didn't lop off the low end nearly as much.
Right.
And it was very dynamic. Then the symmetrical was my second. If I had, just like you said, Tony, if I needed some breakup in the pedal, and to Bobby's point, and I just assume this with all of them, you lose the low end, it compresses it, so it's definitely not as dynamic, and it's going to be that mid forward.
It sort of lops off all sides of the sound. It turns it into a paper bag rectangle sound.
That is the whole point of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're putting it into a amp that's already fairly broken up, you, at least in my opinion, you want that, because otherwise the low end gets out of control.
Yeah,
it actually
it's
tightens
flabby.
up the low end. Yeah, which again how most guys use that. So on that, yeah. So I like the plumes a lot. Something else that both of you guys said that I don't know if you're aware of or not, but that is not op amp based. That's JFET based.
Oh.
So it's going to have much more dynamic range. It's going to break up differently than the other
Maybe.
options
All the
here.
literature said op
No,
amp.
it says it says op amp.
I'm 99
in the middle
sure
position,
that-
middle
wide
position,
open,
it's
no
op amp.
clipping, op amp is what it says.
Yeah, it says we power this op amp by taking 9-volt input, converting it to plus or
I'm
minus.
almost positive.
No, they wrote that.
Yeah.
I should add, at the risk of being too verbose, the third situation was as a lead boost. I've got my foundational sound, compression with a low to medium gain overdrive, and then I kick this thing on top of it.
Oh.
I loved the plumes in that position.
That's cool.
In the middle.
Yeah, the middle.
Yeah.
The middle.
Because usually when I have a lead boost, I want to get louder. I want to cut a little bit of bass. So I use a Timmy as my normal lead boost. And so it's a little volume boost, a little drive boost, and then a little bass cut is pretty much
Right.
all I do. And I
pretty
love
much
it for
what that is,
because
yeah.
it is the sound, just louder and angrier,
Yeah.
which is great. But this, in the clean boost setting, the middle setting, everything at 9, was just this like different sound. It was like kind of quacky, kind of spanky. I was doing lots of like, like really pushing it to
Oh,
see
wow.
how it would. It was still very dynamic. It got louder. It was enough that I thought maybe I should order one of these, because I did own one at one point, and it just, for what I was trying to use it for, it didn't fit.
Yeah.
But I loved it in that spot.
It's got a different mid-range character to it.
It was
for
cool,
sure.
man. It was like, I really like this. Like, maybe I need to rethink, like, who am I? I was like spinning around my dining room, like, I don't know myself anymore.
Yeah. Was
Yep.
that it, Rob?
I think so. Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Todd?
I
Todd?
did this the same way that I probably will do all of these typically. I will say that this was the quietest of the four by
Except in that middle
by a
position.
country yard.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And I played I went through, I did P90s, I did TV Jones, I did Telecaster, and I did Humbucker. Okay?
That's what I should have
So I
done.
went the whole gambit. Well, no, because then this would be a 4-hour show.
Yeah, right.
But I also didn't run this with any other pedals. I just said, okay, straight into the amp, and that was the Vox AC30 S1 with the Empyrean Alnico speaker in it, the VSOP. And let's see here. Here we go. I will do the P90s. I thought that the plumes was much more pronounced than the other pickup configurations in the upper mids and high when I hit the P90s.
And I think that's the I mean,
That's the draw.
it's scooped, or not
Yeah.
scooped, but boosted.
Accentuated or something in that
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
upper mids. Yeah.
What's interesting, and this is why I really did like this pedal quite a bit, because as I went through these guitars, the different things that this offered made absolute sense. So in position 1,
Right.
the P90s was great. Position 2 and 3, nope, didn't like it. It had that extra bit of compression, a little bit higher gain, and it was. I had to raise the dB a little bit because, a little bit lower volume than on the humbuckers. Real good articulation, big punch, maybe a little too bright. There's a theme
Yeah.
there.
And walking that line between it's articulate and it's
Right.
shrill and too bright.
Yeah.
And the some of these pedals that have, less tweakability, it's like, how do I get away from that?
Right. Now, what's interesting is everybody else is playing basically from brighter sounding guitars to start with.
Yeah.
I went to the TV Jones, and the plumes felt just really harsh. It didn't sound right. Too scooped, lost the mid hump, too bright, too compressed.
Really?
Yeah, I just didn't even switching on the little toggle. I couldn't find a place where I liked it.
You got to be careful with that toggle too, because in that middle position, it is so much louder that you can
it's-
get the
yes.
level
Yes.
right on one and then flip it over and like,
Yeah,
whoa.
yeah. The Telecaster, which has House of Tone pickups in, they were a guest on the show, and they were those pickups sound fantastic. Really, really liked them. I did both the neck and the bridge. I did not like the plumes on the Telecaster. It sounded just
Interesting.
harsh, even with the extra beef.
Would you describe it as spiky in any way? Because I felt with the guitar, I was trying to shoehorn it into my rig. And
It
I
was like
"Eek."
too crispy and spiky.
Jagged.
Did even with when you had the tone 9 o'clock and lower?
There was just something that it didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't jive with me. I kind of felt like I was getting that mid push that I was expecting that I didn't get. And I did that in mode 1 and 2. Mode 1 sounded okay, and actually better on the Telecaster than it did in the
It
TV
smooths
Jones.
it out a little bit. Yeah.
That brings me to the humbucker, which
Can't wait.
I loved.
Can't wait.
It was great. The plumes had fantastic range.
Remind me the amp you're using here.
This is a Vox AC30.
Okay,
It's a
that's
single
right.
speaker, the S1. And these are Brandon wound pickups in the humbucker.
Clean or breaking up? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
I run it just a kiss of gain on
Got
it.
it.
Not much at all. I was trying to let this do the thing and not,
Like that?
yeah,
His
just
adjectives are
barely.
great.
Okay, so it still maintained a mid presence regardless of where I was, which I was like, okay, that's cool. But it didn't. I didn't feel like I was stuck in a mid hump that I couldn't get out of. The tone knob, I just didn't have all that much that I got past 1 o'clock.
I
and
don't
then
think
it woke up.
I put
And I was like,
anything
"What?"
on above noon in any of these 4 pedals.
That's
I have a bright setup.
When I went just a tick past that, all of a sudden I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is
Yeah.
fantastic!" Same thing.
clears
with-
Yeah, I
Services.
could see with a humbucker that
For
would,
sure.
that
man.
would make
I
sense.
bet, yeah.
It was awesome. I mean, I played it for a long time, and I was like, "Wait, I got to do the rest of this stuff."
That's part of why my last few notes are so short and like truncated. It's just like because I spent so much time in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And the drive woke up as I hit about 2 o'clock, and the combo of those
2
two,
o'clock.
it was just like,
Jeez.
I didn't get to 2 o'clock. I did at one point. I turned one of them all the way up. I was like, nope, not for me.
Yeah, I'm
I
the
just
same
keep it down
thing.
in the middle somewhere.
yeah, and it still didn't sound like. I mean, it wasn't like I had a distortion
sure,
pedal
sure, sure.
on.
Yeah.
I was still
a
feeling
wasp's
the amp and
nest.
everything.
I'm sorry, back up. Which mode, which clipping mode were you in?
This I did them all, but I really liked the middle mode for this one. And
So-
with
so
the
no
humbuckers.
clipping?
Really?
No clipping. It was
Just
great.
pushing the amp.
I loved it.
and,
yeah.
and you had the level pretty low, though.
No level was. I had it at Unity.
Okay, so you just set it so it was
I
unity,
said,
engaged,
yeah.
disengaged.
Well, like I
okay.
said, contrary to how I
Yep.
thought I would feel, that middle position is the one that made me smile.
Yeah.
On,
Yeah.
That, on that pedal,
Yeah.
which was surprising because on paper it's my least favorite of the 3. It's
Yeah.
the one I would skip.
It
but I
didn't-
tried it before I read what it did. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this is great.
That's what I did with all
I
of
didn't
them.
read them either. Yeah.
Yep.
We tried to do go in blind. It didn't sound. Boxy or blankety. It had a crisp articulation to it, but I felt the body and the drive, and I was like, wow, it had fantastic attack. And that's something that
Yeah.
I would talk about a lot on the show. My personal playing, when I hit a pedal, I want everything it's doing, but I don't want it to get like, if you got like, I don't want it to walk in squishy shoes.
Yeah, I wrote something here, if I could find it, that some of these, when I stack them specifically, they do this, I would describe it as a smearing thing on the transient that almost sounds like, I hate this word, but like a glitch. Almost sounds like a digital interference. Like when I would stack, compressor to like a blues breaker circuit and put one of these on top, even when I turn the drive all the way down, the articulation of the notes, the pick attack was just like,
Yeah.
as opposed to ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
That's
don't
what I
know.
mean.
That's-
It's like I don't
And-
want to get a squishiness
Yeah.
out of it. I want it to be like chank.
yeah,
you know?
there should be a point on it.
Yeah.
And put it, on a nose.
Yes. So I was very surprised, very, very surprised at how much I liked that.
I was too.
especially on the humbucker. The other ones, I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan on
Really?
really any of the other ones on that one. All right, the way huge Green Rhino Mark IV. We've said that this is arguably one of the more desirable ones, and that is not based on that's based on
Sales?
a lot of research.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of the more desirable ones because it is so tweakable.
Super versatile.
And also, even at its most tube screamery, it is the least tube screamery, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It just feels like I hate these words, but a transparent, sort of natural. When I think overdrive, that thing all at noon is kind of how that sounds. Not that I love it, but that is how it sounds to me.
Yes.
That one sounds the least like
Bobby,
a
you're
tube
cutting
screamer.
in line.
No, thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Get back in line.
I'll say it all
I
again.
don't have to go first.
If you don't know your place, we'll put you there.
Well, let's just keep it for, so that
Okay,
everybody
that
doesn't
makes
freak
sense.
out. Go ahead, Tony.
So, I found this.
Wait.
Nice.
Oh, dear God.
Got him.
Controls, volume,
Volume.
drive, tone.
Yes.
We have a switch down for manual EQ, which is like all the stuff on board, which we're going to get to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Up for classic mode, which is
It
the
bypasses.
first Green Rhino.
Yes. Allegedly.
Which is simply level, drive, and tone.
Right.
Yes.
Without, okay. Got it.
Right. There is a 100, 500 hertz EQ.
Parametric EQ.
Yeah.
There are two knobs.
well,
one
it's
is
not-
100
yeah.
and one is 500.
I mean, it's
It's
a
like
set. It's a set, but it's a.
yeah, the two little knobs.
It's not this or that.
I think
Yes.
someone else
Lows
needs
and
to
lower
do the
mids.
control description here.
I think that's what they wrote. I'm just going with what they
Okay.
wrote.
Yep.
Okay. Anyways, so there we have it. There's a lot of functionality on here. Tony, go.
Well, first of all, I was a little disappointed there was no horn on the Rhino. So that was kind of just no.
Oh, bad.
You could glue one on there.
Well, we could glue it out now. Then you'd be onto something.
Not that kind of horn.
I found this one to be, I think, as you said, the Bob, the least tube screamerish. I did find it also to be the most adjustable. I mean, I think, especially when you have the switch in the down position, and you can adjust the 100 hertz and the 500 hertz, you can really dial in a good tone setting, boost or decrease. And I think that comes in handy with different types of guitars.
Yeah, and you can tailor it to if in the moment it sounds a little too this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just like having a tone knob where you're like, well,
Yeah.
I
What
can't
I
turn
gotta
it because
lose.
it's
Yeah.
going to change everything.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. Again, started with everything at 12 noon, and I found that probably was about my favorite setting for this one. I mean, I started by bypassing the 100 and 500 EQs, and I mean, I didn't find that I needed those extra EQs in there, but then when I did flip the switch down, which enables those, that's when you can kind of fine tune.
Yeah.
If you want to boost the bass a little bit or dial out some of the midtones, you can really dial in. And again, it depends on what guitar you're using and certainly what amp you're using it with. But I found this one to be, I would say, probably about the most to get the most varieties of tone and distortion out of it. Again, if you move the drive and the volume controls, you can get a pretty wide variety. So that was my experience.
Okay.
Bobby?
I had one of these, the Mark IV, on my board for years. And I honestly don't know why. I think when I started this pedal journey, I don't know, maybe 12 years ago, where I was like, I could sound better. It could feel better to play my guitar. What's everybody doing and why, right? So the tube screamer, there's certain things that are sort of these quote unquote known quantities, but I felt like an outsider. And so you're trying to learn okay, how are people using the tube screamer? And it's sort of this what's the word? It's not ubiquitous knowledge, but everybody sort of just assumes it's a given that everybody knows how a tube screamer is used and they're really popular. Here are the best ones. It's well, hold on, let's go back to step one. Tell me how I would use it and what I would use it for. And I came across this thing on Reddit yesterday, which was somebody describing to a person that wasn't sure why they would use, what's the hype, right? What's it all about? And I liked this a lot. So I'll read some of the top where he says, Army knife, or he or she or they. Army knife, need an overdrive? Tube screamer. Need to tighten up your fierce amp? Tube screamer. Want to start stacking dirt pedals? Tube screamer, right? But what I liked was this second paragraph where he says, if it were any more boring, it would be awful. If it were any more potent, it wouldn't get along with every other pedal on earth so well. And that spoke to me because it's like, it's one of the original overdrive pedals, right? And so it's kind of good to just be sort of a middle ground to work with everything. And that's why
There's
I think
a place for everything somewhere.
Yeah, and that's why I landed on the Green Rhino, because it is just tweakable. The things that make it a tube screamer, essentially you can boost and cut those things. The 500 hertz, the 100 hertz, that's sort of the meat of that tube screamer sound. But like you said, and like I think we both said, it sounds the least like a quote unquote tube screamer. It's not this nasal, sort of like I've described as a boxy sound. Like it sounds, a lot of tube screamers to me sound like a rectangle. And I know that sounds silly, but it's like,
No, that's exactly what they're meant to
and
sound
I don't
like,
just mean in terms of frequency. I just mean it sounds like a little ray of sound, and there it is. It doesn't have a lot of high end or bottom end, which in the context of a band is a great thing, right? But sometimes I play solo, sometimes I play in a duo, sometimes I play with a trio, and I do need a little more beef. And with this, I can get it. I felt like using only that pedal, if I had to pick one, nothing else, guitar, pedal, amp, it would be the Green Rhino, simply because I can alter it in pretty much any direction I would want to. I found myself volume and tone around noon, which was surprising because usually I go lower on the tone knob. I cut 100 hertz a little bit, boosted 500 hertz a little bit, and that was just sort of this nice rock and roll. It was tight. It sounded good. It wasn't harsh. It was there. When I stacked it on top after Cali 76 compressor, the Origin effects, I wrote, drive at 8, dig this pedal. Now I know why I owned it. Sounds like overdrive. It was the least, I don't want to use the word offensive. I might have already said that because I don't mean that I'm offended by it. But if you don't like the tube screamer sound, you'll get along with the Green Rhino.
Okay.
You can make it sound like a super ultra tube screamer, or you can just sort of middle it out and there's a good overdrive. As a lead boost, I felt like on top of the compressor, and I think I was running it with a brown protein, the blue side of the brown protein. And I felt the same way with all of these except for the plumes. Even with the drive at 0, it was too much.
Still clipping.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm a sucker for clipping, like sign me up. But
but not
this
on
was
top
like,
of...
it was just a little too much. And then I found myself thinking, well, the plumes, in that middle position is really great for this. But then it's essentially a clean boost with a tube screamer tone sweep. But if I had to pick one, it would be that one. If I had to just use that all night, that's what I would do. I liked it. And you can really, if you goose the 500 hertz, you can, it gets real silly. It's a very unique sound, and it would be cool for something, but I'm a 2 or 3 pedals on a board guy. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Rob.
Yeah, I echo most of what all these guys already said. The 100 and 500 hertz pots are very useful to be able to really dial it in. And they're subtle, but also not subtle to the point like you have to turn it all the way one way or another way to notice a difference, but it's just a very even taper where it's like it doesn't. A lot of these pedals, I found the knobs were only useful, like tone knobs were only useful in a very small range. And on the Green Rhino, I didn't find that. I could put it in many different positions, and it was like, oh, that's pleasing, just
musical.
different. Yeah, very musical. That's a good way of putting it. So yeah, I mean, and like with Bobby, if I just needed one pedal to do whatever, and I'm not sure what I'm walking into with which amp, whatever.
Of these 4.
It'd be the Green Rhino by far. Now, something I didn't mention on the plumes and with this and with any of these, the way I was using them was more of a boost. They were still overdriven, but a boost. So I always had the gain probably no higher than 9 or 10 o'clock on any of these.
You're using it as a boost?
More of a boost and a volume boost. So I'm not using them as a gain, as a unity. So I'm using a slight volume boost along with a little bit of gain.
I mean, even with the Vibrolux, I don't think I ever got my drive above noon.
Yeah.
For any reason. For my purposes, I just wouldn't need that.
So interesting.
And again, what I'm using it through is imagine a 1987 circuit 70s Marshall or a 50 watt 800. So it's already gainy. I'm just using this as if you could turn that gain knob on the Marshall up another notch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is what it
Just
it
to
pushes
11.
it
Okay.
to 11.
So you were using,
and then it
you
shapes
had
it.
amp gain already in there.
Yeah, imagine
Got it.
AC/DC,
Okay.
and with
Yeah.
when I turned this on, it was the lead tone for
Okay.
AC. That's basically what it was.
Okay.
And the tone shaping of all these, back to that, why I like the square box. It doesn't sound squarey when you put into a Marshall.
That's right.
Like that, it just tightens it up and it smooths it off.
Into the Fender, it just sort of.
Absolutely
Something smells like beef.
I don't think it's
That-
me. I
that's
showered
probably
for
your
this,
feet.
so
Can you get that? It smells like beef a little bit.
are those beef flavored cough drops?
Guess not.
Okay, no.
Okay.
So anyways,
Talon
It might be.
cough drops.
It might be Rob cooking on the heater.
It might be.
That's what it is. That's a reverse sear. Yeah.
So yeah. So something I noticed on this though, that although it is not a typical tube screamer thing, it definitely has more gain than a tube screamer would on tap. So if you want it, maybe about
Yeah.
half or a little past half is like
Yeah.
a maxed out tube screamer.
Sure.
Or this, if you're like, I want to get stupid,
Really
it's
drive
got
it.
more
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, really. Oh, and I preferred because I used my Telly P90s, humbuckers, everything. I preferred the plumes with single coils P90s. I preferred the Green Rhino with humbuckers.
It's a little softer. Yeah, I can see that.
And I just preferred the EQ curve of the plumes slightly. But, I mean, we're splitting hairs. So there's my
Yes.
input on that.
Like I
one.
said, I just jammed these into my rig. So the first day I did just this board, but then today, sorry, I did it today. I went in line with my drive pedals after my compression and rhythm sounds before my lead boost. I plopped those in.
Okay.
And that leads me, not to sidetrack, to the question I wanted to ask you. It's making me feel like I'm insane. Is when I plugged into this board directly into my amp, even with the pedals off, my amp that I know and love. I don't play it in my living room a lot, but it felt dark and flat and murky. But I have one of these on my board.
But is yours set for true bypass and that one's not?
Yeah, no, it's not. I think it's set for buffered. The Peterson.
Yeah.
So when I put it in line with my board, when I turned my amp on with no pedals on, I was like, oh, there's my sound. So is there some sort of buffer in my chain that's like making it sound better?
It could be.
I think the Timmy's got a buffer in it too, I think. Maybe not.
Yes.
But
it could be.
am I crazy that it sounded, it was a night and day difference with just this board?
Yeah. No, it could be very noticeable.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Todd?
P90 first. The Green Rhino did really, really well with the P90 for especially like, palm mutes and chords and stuff. It still felt too round. No, on all of it. It felt.
I think that's why I like it. It's because it feels round.
I have more attack typically in my playing, and I felt like it was like it's hiding. There was something that was hiding in there, and I don't know how else to explain that. And the TV Jones, the Green Rhino, just sounded like super boxy. Too swampy on the low end, even with playing around with the parametric thing. I did not like it in the classic mode. I tried to stay in the and I was because I was actually really looking forward to this one, and it just didn't work for me. But that said, I do have more articulate comments on that. I tried to mess these up too much and make them super custom for each one just to see how they run across multiple guitars. I didn't have a good feeling with any of them when I was playing. It says it's a more of a mid-high, high-mid hump on this one than anything else, and it's barely even a hump, which is where you probably go with why it's not so.
The 500
Dreamers.
the 500 knob feels like it's below that. So
Yeah.
if you don't like that thing about it,
Yeah.
you can't dial it out.
Yeah. It was very versatile across all the pickups.
Did you have any notes? Sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
Did you have any notes particularly with humbuckers? Like, did you like it better with the
I'm getting
humbucker?
there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. You just mentioned every other pickup, and I thought,
Well, no, I was just getting there.
Okay, go ahead.
The Green Rhino did better on the neck pickup than it did on the bridge pickup for the TV Jones, and I think as well as the Telecaster. I
Yeah.
did not like at all the Telecaster. It was super boxy.
Really?
It just felt like there was like a transparent bleed that was coming.
Yeah, I wonder if that's the difference in your rig and mine. So like that video I sent you earlier, you couldn't really hear it well because even though it was super loud, it was the amp was low down and that phone was up on a table.
It's like I could still hear just the amp coming through.
I just thought it sounded
splitting
super open and really cool and crispy.
And the
I was
way you two play could not be more opposite.
Yeah.
That's totally fair. On the humbucker.
Okay,
There
here
he is.
this is what I was waiting for.
The Green Rhino has a very, I'm reading this verbatim in my notes, I guess you really have to kick the foot switch to engage it. It was like, it was a sticky foot switch.
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
There was a compression that I couldn't get away from here.
Yeah, that's what I like. I think that's why I like the pedal so much.
But the reason I didn't like that is because when I attack something,
It doesn't go
it
any
doesn't
harder.
attack.
I gotcha.
It's just, it was a flat, and it just sounded like it was a blanket over
Well, that's also
everything.
why when I put it after a compressor, I like it, and maybe that's simply because it's more predictable.
Well,
I don't use it to compressor typically anyway.
Well, and something else, and he's using a Vox, which is compressed kind of on one, where your rig is much more dynamic until you get up to around 4.5.
I think
or
that's why
5.
I usually turn it up to about 4 if I'm lucky.
And that's why every Fender user uses something as an always on.
That's
to
what it
compress
is.
it,
Yeah,
you know?
because if not,
he's
getting too
already
loud, too
compressed.
quiet.
So when it's
Yeah.
more compression with this, he's
Yeah.
like, "What do I do with this?"
I get that.
So I'm also a single guitar player in my band. So I need that extra articulation,
Yeah.
and it just wasn't. No matter what I did, I couldn't get it. If I was one of two who was basically kind of doing the rhythm kind of vibe for it, then it would probably work out pretty well, I suppose. If I'm just trying to push the amp a little bit, it's probably good, but beyond that, I didn't find it very usable.
It has the least voice of the 4, and that's what I think makes it so appealing.
Yeah.
But it's like,
the most unappealing to me.
exactly,
It
because if you're
depends on
looking
what
for
you're looking for.
a tube screamer, in my opinion, why buy the Green Rhino? There are better quote unquote tube screamers.
Yeah.
The Green Rhino is a better pedal than some tube screamers in the sense that it can cover a lot of ground for what it is. But if you're looking for a tube screamer, you might get it and go, this just sounds like an overdrive pedal. It just sounds like a basic.
To me, it's like if you would blinders on, I'd plug in and I go, okay, it's a tube screamer variant, but it's not as nasally as
It wasn't as nasally, but it was so boxy.
It's not coming at you through a metal
It was
tube.
a
it's meant to be
boxy
boxy.
wool blanket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get over to
Tony,
what is that mug on Tony?
Tony.
Tony, go. Cryptic Audio Investigations.
Tony's like, I need a drink.
Banshee Drive.
Somebody get me a shot.
Give me another shot.
I will say this: the Banshee takes a classic screaming overdrive and gives it a few terrifying twists. One of the biggest is the bass boost, perfect for bass guitar,
Terrifying
down
indeed.
tuning, or even if you just want a bit more low end. Another is the second switch, choosing between clipping modes so you can ensure this monster shrieks exactly how you like. The controls, by the way, this is true bypass. They all are. The controls, volume, okay, tone, great, shriek, that's your drive. There's a switch,
That was my
toggle
shriek.
switch number one,
Try to do it quiet. Yeah.
down for normal, or no boost, or up for bass boost.
Yep.
Switch 2 is up for symmetrical clipping, down for asymmetrical clipping.
Yes.
Okay, Tanya, hit it.
I like the two eyes on the LEDs.
So did my 5-year-old.
It's so cool.
He loved it as well.
Yeah, there's a big like banshee, floating banshee on the front, and when you kick it on, their two eyes light
It's
up.
great. I
and
think the
amber.
artwork was done by somebody called Nine Curses, maybe. I looked it up on Instagram. I love the artwork.
Yeah. He's
It's
a
not
local
my
guy,
kind
too,
of thing,
I
but I
think.
love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
This one, I want to say I found this one to be the brightest,
More than the plumes.
more than the plumes.
And you did the same thing
Same, start at noon.
with both switches down?
Well, now with the bass boost, I found the bass boost on this one to be much stronger. I mean, it was.
Well, and so is the other switch, whatever that they call it.
Oh,
symmetrical.
the symmetrical and asymmetrical.
Yeah, that.
Again, I if I found out nothing else about this, I think I found out I like symmetrical clipping.
That's an important discovery.
That's fair. See, I like asymmetrical clipping.
Well, it was nice that was reinforced because I always thought, like, I think I like symmetrical clipping. And in every blind test I've ever done, before reading the manual, I was like, this one. And then it was like symmetrical. I was like, okay, good.
Yep.
Okay, I do like symmetrical clipping.
So that definitely, I found that out. The bass boost switch, I think it may, and maybe there's a trim pot inside that you can maybe take it down a little bit. But it was a little over the top for me. And in his description saying that if, perfect for bass guitar, I don't know that I would put a bass boost with a bass guitar.
It will sound like this.
But it is a unique sounding pedal. I mean, this one had the most unique voice out of everything here. And you can really dial in some, the drive or clipping or whatever you want to call it.
Shriek.
The shriek. And I think that, depending on your rig and the style of music, I mean, this could definitely be a strong contender for, someone that wants a super grindy, bright, or flip the bass switch. And I mean, to me, I think the bass was just a little over the top for my taste.
Okay.
And that's all I got to say
Bobby.
about that.
All right. I do not like tube screamers. And I'm going to tell you, and Rob can't believe that I said this before the podcast. I love this pedal.
Yeah.
And I'm so surprised by that because yesterday when I plugged it in with just this board, I was like, ooh, they all sound bad. All these pedals sound small and congested and strange. But then today, in line with my board, whatever the difference is there, this thing just came alive. Like, and I found, so by itself, it was good. If I had to use it by itself, I'd get by. I would just play harder and try to look cooler. But I had volume at 1, tone at 10, shriek at 11, and then I wrote in all capitals, I don't like the bass boost. I like the idea of the bass boost, and I like where it's centered, but in the context of my rig, it is a destroyer, and not in a cool way. It is so much. Like you said, if there was a trim pot inside, I like where it's focused. I just wish I could have less of it. If I could get that pedal with half of that bass boost, I might use it. But it was one of those things, as soon as I tried it, I was like, nope. And I there were a couple times after that where I flipped it back on and I was like, nope, still don't like it. But I do like the character of it. But again, in the context of my rig, it was not a fit. Now, on top of some compression into a way huge Aquapus and a little bit of Strymon Blue Sky reverb. On top of that, I wrote, scrolling. I wrote shriek at 9. So with the compression on all these pedals, once I have compression underneath it or before it, I'm rolling the drive down because I'm getting the sustain from the compressor.
Yeah, and you're pushing into this too.
Yeah, right. And I'm just trying to put a little spice on top of it. And I wrote shriek at 9, really love this pedal. Everything I like about a tube screamer, nothing I don't. And then I wrote some choice words about how I wish the bass boost was less. But what's interesting is I went into this going, yeah, tube screamers, they don't have a place in my rig. I've found the things that I like. And all of these I could use, but I don't like them any more than things I already have.
They're not going to dislodge something.
Right, but then this one as a second sort of rhythm tone, which rhythm for me is a lot of like, spoinky, spanky, like, right? So I'm not playing a lot of like full voiced chords in this position, but that thing had this sort of nasal tube screamer thing, but at least today, with the way my guitar sounded and the way my amp sounded, it just fit. And I was like, I think I'm going to buy one of these. I love that pedal.
That's cool.
As a lead boost, again, same thing as before. I rolled the drive all the way down. and it was still too much. I rolled the tone almost all the way down, and it was still too much. But it's on top of that.
I mean, it's a drive pedal. You know?
Yeah, and
So
well,
it's
and that the brown protein, the blue side of it, the carbon, I think is the single version of it, right? It's a blues breaker thing. It's a very bright pedal. It's got a sort of thumpy bass thing to it.
not this one.
No, sorry. The brown protein, the blue side.
That he's using as bass.
Yeah, as my sort of rhythm
Over-
sound.
as
My-
your-
This
I
is
would
what I
describe it
typically
as
take,
sort of
yeah.
like a, I can't play like these guys, but Vince Gill, Brent Mason, sort of like spanky country thing that still has some hair on it, but the compressor is doing all the sustain. Because a lot of these things too, when it's just the overdrive pedal, in order to get the sustain and the feel that I want, I have to turn the drive up high enough that it's too overdriven for the sound that I want.
That's
So
fair.
that's where the compressor comes
Yeah.
in. But that thing by itself was serviceable, was good. But on top of the compression, into the amp with the reverb and everything, I was like, I think I have, because like I said before, I don't want to have 4 good overdrive sounds for the night. I want to have one good one that I can depend on, and then maybe a second one that's a little more interesting or unique sounding. And I think I'm going to buy one. I love that pedal.
That's awesome. And he's a local boy. That's cool.
It's great. I think I'm going to buy one tonight.
Okay, Rob.
Cool.
I did not expect to like it, and I loved it. That's
Yeah,
it.
well, how
And
about
that's my,
that?
and that's my time. Sorry.
So I was the opposite of Bobby. I've tried, again, I'm going 70s through 80s Marshall kind of breakups and clean through a Fender amp as well, and it didn't work in any situation for me. I didn't prefer it on anything. Couple quick notes. I'm not sure why it's in that package. Why 3 knobs and 2 switches have to be 1.5 width of a normal pedal. That seemed weird to me. And the offset switch is a no-go on most pedal boards because I've got something else right next to it. So
I am a stomper too.
So why wouldn't you put that in a normal size box, move the switches down, and center the? So if he's listening, hey, if you want to create a more pedal board friendly version, maybe take that into consideration.
Yeah,
I agree. The bass boost is, and I never even considered. Well, what if this was cut in half? Would that be useful?
Mm-hmm.
I just flipped it on and went,
No.
why? Flipped it back off.
So when you read the description of the pedal, I wrote this down. I believe it says a bit more low end. I don't think you could describe it as a bit more low end. I think if it was really sounding anemic and thin, you could flip that on to turn it around the other way.
I can give a little bit of insight of probably where he's coming from. The music that he plays and a lot of people that he makes pedals for are playing like big stoner, doomy, multi, more than 6 strings oftentimes. So I think that might have. I'm speaking for him without knowing this, but I'm thinking he's trying to maybe compensate a little bit.
Having played in bands in the past where I was tuned down to drop A sharp, I would want less. That's what I would use a tube screamer for, is to sort of chop off that low end
tighten
and
it up,
square
make
it up.
room for the bass. Yeah.
I was taking a stab in the dark, but I'm probably
No, I will
wrong.
tell you, as a lead boost, I felt it was a little thin, and I thought maybe this is where the bass boost comes in, and it sounded cool, but I wanted 60 or 70% of what I got.
It's a lot.
I still really quite like the pedal.
Every control on that pedal, there was nothing subtle. It was the opposite of the Green Rhino, where everything is very musical and even. It was like, whoa, okay, that's on now. And you turn the scream, and it's like, whoa.
It's a knuckle sandwich. It's it's unapologetic.
Every time you move a knob just a little bit, you're like, whoa, okay,
I found the
hold on.
best use of it was low gain, spanky, raunchy, retro country sound.
With your compressor.
Was what I got out of it.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. P90. The Banshee sounded great. It was almost like a hybrid between the Green Rhino and the Plumes together. It had that high end, kind of almost pushing into sizzle. Yeah.
How high did you have the gain or the shriek or whatever it is? Because I think that's such an important part of this pedal.
I'm trying to remember where I had it on that. I think I might have actually just skipped that part in my notes.
Well, then never mind.
Probably somewhere between 9 and 4.
Let's edit that out.
Wait, no, hang on. There's some. I do address where the gain is.
Okay.
But on the TV Jones, plumes didn't really either go over.
You got it.
Yeah, I got it. There it is. Let's see. TV Jones didn't. It's kind of the same thing. You know.
Yeah.
Sounds to me you don't like TV Jones.
No, I do. It's just it wasn't.
We did
I'm
that
doing
in the
it-
South
do
with one of them on the
quick-
show.
I'm
Stupid
going
guy.
TV Jones into a Vox. I mean, that's a well-known and classic sound.
Yes.
but this
But
one,
not necessarily the tube screamer.
Well known,
Yeah,
well
maybe
known
with
and
that.
classic.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that.
In a way, can I ask a stupid guy question?
Okay.
I know it's well known and classic. What is TV Jones?
Oh, you have to listen to that podcast. It'll be
So
on.
they'll-
shortly.
I
So
feel like I
TV
know.
Jones
Is it like
are
a
like
Filtertron?
Filtertrons.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. So the Telecaster, the Banshee did great on the Telecaster. I liked it. It wasn't too humpy. It wasn't too woofy. It just kind of like sat right in the middle. It lacked, I think, some of that mid punch that is kind of nice, which I found on the East River. But that punch, because it's a low mid, you get a little bit more bass in it, which didn't feel right
Yeah.
with the Telecaster.
Yeah.
So that was a weird aspect of it. It sounded good. It sounded good. But then when I got to the humbucker, it was like really solid. I love the two lights. We talked about that. All the switches gave me a lot of range. That doesn't mean that I need that. I think we all agree that the bass boost is not as functional as it might be intended to be.
There are times where I thought, oh, thank God, bass boost. And then I flipped it on and I was like, oh, no, nope.
Yep. It's yeah. You have to change way too much other stuff for that to be useful.
I like that the Green Rhino is very tweakable. And the Banshee is also pretty tweakable, but they're tweakable in different ways.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like they covered the same ground at
No.
all.
I did have the gain. Okay, now I don't know what kind of reaction I'm
Here
going to
we
get here. I had it set at about 2 o'clock.
What?
Really?
That's just
Wow.
crushing your amp, dude.
Yeah.
I was at Unity Gain on a clean sounding amp. So,
Really?
yeah. I mean,
So what
I wasn't
kind of
running.
stuff are you, when you turn it to 2 o'clock, what kind of stuff are you playing?
Death metal, apparently.
No, I don't play death metal.
Like Cannibal Corpse or like...
No, not at all. I
Signs
play
of the
like
Swarm
straight
or-
up.
My Vox
like,
started smoking. Does that tell you anything?
my Vox is addicted to cigarettes
Yeah,
now.
he
I
plays
heard it screaming at me.
mostly worship music.
Yeah.
What
no,
kind of worship?
None
Because
of that.
there are some of these high gain sounds that I can get out of these pedals that would be useful if I played a different
Right.
style of music.
We got to remember, I'm not putting this in front or behind anything else, and I'm
You're
not
just
running
testing
amp
only
gain.
the pedal.
I'm not
Into
running
a
Yeah.
box.
amp gain. I'm doing just enough to make the amp kind of like
Okay.
do the work.
At
okay?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Wow.
So,
I wish, did you have any like videos or recordings or anything?
I didn't do any recordings.
Man.
No.
You should.
I'd be interested to hear, because like there was a time
I want to
where
hear that sound too.
There was a time where I thought I had to be well versed.
I play it like my band, the Valentinos. That's what all the
Okay.
stuff in
Okay.
there. Like I basically go, could I play? How would I play this?
So it's,
Yeah.
you're trying to like, okay, if I needed this for a gig
Exactly.
tomorrow.
Exactly.
Ah.
Which is
That's the thing is I love the high gain sounds. Like one of my favorite bands of all time is Skid Row. Right, I love Skid Row.
it's not
Always
nearly
have.
as high gain as that.
Sure,
Yeah.
but I look at there was a time where I thought I have to be well versed in everything, from classic rock to pop to jazz to fusion to
Sure.
country to metal, and these days I'm realizing no, I just play what I want, and so the things that I want to play right now are these sort of low to medium gain things. So I didn't even entertain that with these
Yeah.
pedals.
Yeah,
There was
where
one, at
that's
one
what he
point
went.
I turned it up and I was like, no,
And
not
there
for
was
me.
tons of gain left in that too.
Yeah,
They're definitely
So
is.
to me it
Tons of
felt like
shriek,
a
I believe.
great combination between the Green Rhino and the Plumes. Which
100%
is,
agree.
Which is, the Green Rhino had much more focused mid-range area, and it kind of felt like it just stays there. When I'm digging in on the Cryptid, it had a little bit. It was a little bit soft on the dig, and not quite as articulate. Especially if I'm doing a palm mute, compared to like the Plumes, which was like just responded
Bam.
immediately.
Yep.
And that's where I was at with that.
Yeah.
I think that's what I liked about it is that the Green Rhino and the Plumes, the things that I liked about each of them, I could have in that pedal.
Right.
So if I had to take
Right.
one, it would probably
Right.
be that one.
Yeah, that's
Which I know
totally fair.
contradicts
Totally
what I said
fair.
earlier. But
Wow.
And
Okay.
it's the third cheapest. Second
I
cheapest.
have known Rob for so long, and I so value his opinion and trust his opinion.
Why?
And there's part of me, because you've never steered me wrong, except for, well, there's a couple things, but the
Let's talk about those.
there's a part of it when he goes, nope, I don't agree. Part of me goes, oh, I should reevaluate. Maybe I made a wrong choice. But the other part of me goes, no, this is cool.
Yeah.
I'm being rebellious now. I'm not
Yeah.
listening to Daddy Rob. I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm going to buy one of those for sure. I love that pedal.
Good. Okay, let's
Okay.
get on to our last one, the Electro Harmonics East River Drive. Now, this is an interesting one because it's I guess one of the more affordable in the Electro Harmonics
All of
line.
these are affordable.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean? Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
no,
Yeah, if you have $1
specifically-
million like what Rob has. Yeah.
Specifically in the Electro Harmonics line, it is one of their more affordable pedals.
Do we need to talk about the controls?
Well, there's just three.
There's three.
Volume,
All
tone,
three
and
of them.
drive.
There's
So-
also a switch and an LED.
Yeah, so here we go. The East River is a JRC 4558 IC based symmetrical true bypass overdrive.
Hey, Rob, real quick. What does that mean? I know what it means, but please just
What
explain
are
it
you?
to
You
them.
tell them.
Yeah, it's,
Since you
so
know what
it's
it means.
green. It does have those black knobs. They're
Yeah.
plastic. What does that mean, though?
The stuff. Okay, so and actually, me and Tony talked about this while you guys were in the restroom,
Ooh, together.
which was we won't talk about it
Yeah, a
anymore.
little
about that.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, me and Tony were really uncomfortable.
I found
we
it
talked
very
about
comfortable.
leaving, but we decided. Anyways, the 4558 chip was the original chip for the Tube Screamer. That is a BJT transistor. It's a certain sound. So that's what all that comes to. And we were talking earlier about the Plumes being a JFET. I looked
Yeah.
up while you guys were in the restroom. It is a JFET op amp.
Oh,
Got it.
okay.
Where the rest of them are all the 4558
Got it.
chip.
Got it.
So
Okay.
that's why it does respond different. So
Got it.
that's what that means.
I think what's interesting is I know so deeply and so purely what sounds I love, but I don't know always what they are assigned to.
Right.
And that's great. And that's great because you're using your ear and you're
Yeah.
finding where
And-
so many people focus on tech specs and talk
Yeah.
themselves into liking things where you're just like you plug into it, you turn the
I
knobs.
kind of have a foot in both camps, which is like, I love this, but on paper I shouldn't, and so maybe I should. Maybe I'm
Right.
I'm fooling myself.
Don't worry about the on paper.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
I want to make just a quick
was
public
wonderful.
service announcement because I know that there's going to be some people out there listening that say he didn't even know what TV Jones was, or he didn't even know what
Yeah.
whatever the first. I can't remember what the first.
I mean, to be
Wait,
fair,
hold on,
I
hold on,
cut
hold
him
on.
off and I said, "Wait, is it like Filtertron?"
Hold on, hold on. My point is that's don't do that, everybody, because this is a perfect example of you can kick ass at playing guitar and you can love what you're doing. Your knowledge of what every single thing is doesn't make you a better guitar player.
Yeah, and one of my strengths is also admitting when I don't know something,
Well, sure.
asking questions because I want to know.
And as a guy who deals with musicians 24/7, the most unique, creative musical talents I have ever worked with have no idea what the helling,
Yeah.
what they're
That was very
doing with
nice of you
any
to
of
say.
their gear.
That's true.
Let's
Yeah, I'll
let's
text you
get
guys
on
when
to
I
the
get
East
home.
River Drive as we are
Okay.
motoring along here. Okay, now the reason that this came in as a variant and not a straight up clone is that there is a connection to Analog Man, who helped design the actual pedal. When EHX wanted to make a classic overdrive pedal based on said Tube Screamer, they asked Analog Man to collaborate because of Analog Man's longtime expertise in optimizing the legendary TS style overdrive circuit. By the way, I'm reading this.
I had
obviously
one of
you can
those,
tell.
the silver mods, for a while, and it was cool.
Yeah.
And I wish I still had it so I could put it in the right spot and get some use out of it.
The goal for the East River Drive was to not be just another TS overdrive. With inspiration from Analog Man's famed silver mod TS-808 at the aforementioned, they created the East River Drive to possess both an incredible tone and an incredible incredible price. It is very, very cheap. Analog Man worked with EHX and managed the engineers to build this excellent pedal to the exact specs with the JRC 4558D chip, which Analog Man used for so long to deliver the punch and clarity for every guitar player.
Yeah.
Okay,
Tony.
now, Tony, go.
This is by far the simplest of the pedals that we tested here. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, if you want something to replace a tube screamer, this one will feel right at home. It does sound somewhat different, and I don't know if it's the componentry they're using, the clipping diodes, whatever.
It's the JRC 4558D chip.
Oh, that's what it is. Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, I thought so.
But out of all of them, I mean, this one, like I said, it was, to me, it felt pretty much like a tube screamer.
Yeah.
I mean, and granted, it's affordable, but I mean, if you want to get a tube screamer, get a tube screamer.
Or don't, because this is different. It has a J5585596D chip.
When I started playing it, I was thinking, like, why this versus something else? And everything I found online was like, well, it's like a TS-808 that Analog Man has somehow, Mike's somehow been involved, and it's $100 cheaper or $80 cheaper or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I guess I thought there would be some golden answer, like what's this versus that? What's the difference? Somebody was like, it's pretty much the same thing, just sort of better.
If we think
cheaper.
about like the TS-808 as a in the middle, in the nucleic diagram, right? Okay, this is probably the first ring out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then subsequently, then you go like way huge is probably the next ring out, and then so on and so on, right? So we have varying degrees of how close is this to that?
And I imagine, just like that, your copy says on that EHX said we want to make a TS style pedal, and we want to be
our own,
very true to what it is, but just a little.
But what gap can we fill?
And at the same price point, which is what EHX usually does, we need to be at the low price point.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. If you put the extra knobs that Green Rhino had, an extra R&D and yada yada, it does. Yeah. So it's like, okay, it's an $86 pedal. Where if I was in a touring band and I had a tube screamer I was using in a metal band to lop off the low end, tighten things up, and give it a little bit of push on a JCM 800, and I went to a gig and my TS-808 was dead, I could go anywhere, go to Amazon, get this delivered same day, and be like, we're good.
It's a known quantity.
Yeah.
It is very much a known quantity.
Okay.
I found it to be the least compelling of the three, and of the four. I think it's just because it was the least tweakable, which, as we discussed, I think is one of its selling points. Is the price point is good. It sounds great. If you want a tube screamer and you're used to the TS-808 thing, that is hand over fist replacement. That's a better, in my opinion. I don't love the form factor, but that's because I'm picky about things. And
I don't either.
Rob knows
What
that
don't
about
you like
me.
about the form factor?
The knobs are terrible.
I just don't. It's just aesthetically, it's not my
aesthetic.
thing.
Okay.
And
But not functionality.
No. The form factor is great. I don't like the way it looks, and I know that sounds
it's
bougie.
You get what you pay for.
But I kind of like. There are some pedals that I have on my board that I might have one that sounds a little better, but I like the way that one looks on the floor.
Yeah.
And the EHX thing has just never really been my bag. It's subjective. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not for me.
I don't know of anyone that's like, I buy EHX pedals for the
look. Yeah, right.
It is what it is,
And I also have some pedals that look great and don't sound very good. And they just sit on a shelf.
Yeah.
With my Stone Cold Steve Austin action figures and my, all my stickers and stuff.
How about the playing?
Oh, the playing. Got it. I felt that it was just sort of there. Like with the Green Rhino, if there's something I don't like about it, I may be able to dial it out. I may be able to boost to 500 or cut, whatever. With this, I would say if you like the Tube Screamer thing and that's what you're expecting, you're going to be 100% happy. If you don't like the way it sounds, or more importantly for me, if you don't like the way it feels, you can't really get away from it. It sounds the way it sounds, and you've got, Tube Screamer control over it. You've got the three knobs. That's it. So I wrote volume at 1, tone at noon. This was for just the one single pedal thing. volume at 1, tone at noon, drive at 10, feels stiffer, sharper than the others. That's where I said this one had this low mid thing around 250 hertz that I just couldn't get away from, but that might have just been the room I was in. I liked it on top of some compression, volume at 1, tone at noon, drive almost all the way down. I said any more drive, it gets honky / cloudy / small. It sort of closes in on itself. I said it's fine. It sounds like a tube screamer. As a lead boost, same thing as everything else. Drive all the way off, still a little too much. With the volume knob, I worked that a little bit. It was great. It has a really nice character to it. Again, this is all in the context of the music that I play and the 3.5 licks that I know how to play. Like, I could definitely use it. It was great. There's no reason that I would pick it over the other 3 on the board just because the other 3 are a little more malleable. But it's a great pedal. The TS-808 thing is a thing, and it does that very well.
Okay, Rob?
Yep. Yeah, did all that. It's a tube screamer. It is a. I will say it sounds a little smoother than a stereotypical tube screamer, and it does have maybe a little bit more gain on tap. I don't know if that's my imagination. But other than that, it's tube screamer. So
This is where I wonder if smoother means something different to you than it means to me.
high-end presence.
Okay.
The
I think I'm talking about
has rolled off a
that's
little
smooth?
bit.
clipping character is what I'm talking about.
Oh, rolling that off.
Rolling that off a
makes
little
it sound
bit.
smooth. Okay.
Yeah, is a little smoother. It's
Okay.
the very top end, like your presence knob, you just turned it from 5
I
to
got
4.
you.
That's a little smoother.
I'm thinking of the visual of what is the waveform, the
Oh
clipping.
no,
like
the no. It's frequency.
I got
It's
you.
rolling off the high end frequency just a little bit.
Totally agree.
But it's tube screamer. So which is what it was designed to do, and it does that great for $86.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I did make a note. I particularly like this one with neck humbuckers,
Really?
and probably the reason is because it's so mid forward. So
Yeah.
it took away all that low end tubbiness and rolled it off and cleaned it up. So, anyways, there you
Okay. Okay, for the P90s, this actually really surprised me. And I will say, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I think you guys would agree with me based on everything that we're talking about with this. But honestly, if this was made by any other boutique pedal builder in a different box, most people would probably really like this.
If I was told by my favorite YouTuber that it was a great pedal,
Sure.
then I would snag one.
That being
That's
said,
unfortunate.
well, it's we're
I am the lowest
if
common
this said
denominator,
Joyo
dude.
on it, we'd probably all be like, it's garbage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also be $30.
Yeah,
it'd be 30 bucks.
So I'd be for 30
So
bucks. Is
this
amazing.
really surprised me on the P90s. The P90s love this one.
Mid forward.
It was just like bang, and I was like, wow, okay. More so than it did on the humbuckers. It woke up, had real muscle in front. The noise floor on this was kind of ridiculous. It's a really noisy pedal.
Totally agree.
The louder you go, obviously the louder it is.
I thought it
even
was-
without playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I realize that there's P90s involved, so it's not quite like a humbucker.
I thought it was my rig. I thought it was because I was in my house and
Yeah.
I never set my gear up in my house. And I was like, oh, it's really noisy here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the difference between the East River and the Plumes is we're insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge,
Opposite ends of the
huge
spectrum.
noise.
I didn't pay attention to that. It's interesting. guess I
On the
should've.
TV Jones, they sounded really great. The TV Jones pickups, were fantastic.
This was the first
mid-punch.
pedal you're saying that about.
Well, because it's
Yeah.
different.
Because it does a thing.
It has some grit. It has some growl. I would have liked a little bit more articulation on the high end. It got hunky. It got woolly. It got clean. It got crisp, and I liked how it responded as I wanted it to
Hell yeah.
with the TV Jones. The Telecaster sounded great on a Telecaster too. Straight up rock, like you plug it in, it's like bang. There's just straight up rock sound. If I was going just for straight up rock, like just here's a rock sound.
By straight up rock, give me an example. What do you mean?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess like a classic rock kind of thing. for lack of a better
I feel
That's
like
a great description, Todd.
I feel like for me and
Thanks
Rob,
for sharing.
Well,
I feel like it's always AC/DC. It's always like the
Well,
default.
I was gonna
like,
say that,
What does a
but
rock and
to
roll
me, that's
guitar
what that
sound
sounds
like?
like.
Yeah,
if I say classic rock, that's what I think
yeah.
of.
Or Fog Hat.
Okay.
One of the
It did sound. It did have some decent low end, but you're kind of stuck with that. So if you need more jangle in your Telecaster, this is not going to do that. The encrypted audio gave you that though, which is kind of nice. For the humbucker, this thing. One other big thing. When you click this, it's like clunk.
Yeah.
Big click, noisiest of all. It just kind of felt flat for me on the
So
humbucker.
you're saying it has big click energy?
Big click energy, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought you said.
Yes. It was just kind of flat for the humbuckers. It didn't have any. I didn't have any like. It felt removed from my playing to
what
a
did it
certain
add?
degree,
Yeah.
right? I didn't feel like I was getting the character that I was from the P90s. I wrote this down. It makes me feel a bit disassociated from what I'm playing. If I'm really digging in, it comes out the same. So
I hadn't thought of it that way, and
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
It is quite compressed.
yeah,
Yeah, and on paper, I like that.
Yeah.
Like, but
Well,
But if I had a Telecaster and an amp and I just needed to go like do some power chords and get out of town, bang.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't ask any more questions.
this was so interesting because he's saying he didn't like with the humbuckers. I found that one generally probably the best with the humbuckers, but we're using them so drastically different.
we
with
play
different
completely
amps.
different. And different amps.
And isn't that
Yeah.
amazing? You know,
Yeah. Which goes to the point of there's a pedal
Yeah.
a reason for
that's
every
why
use.
all of these
Exactly.
things exist is
Yeah.
for that reason,
And
right?
one guy thinks I could never
Well,
use that. The next guy's like, that's the
And
perfect
I
thing.
should note that of all these four pedals, again, I think they're all great. I don't think any of them is bad quality. I think they do their job, as advertised. And the ones that I didn't like, or in the configurations I didn't like them, I could build a rig around any of these and make it sound
For something
exactly
different.
how I want.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
So like probably my all-time favorite overdrive pedal, which I also hate, it's a love-hate relationship, is the Greer Lightspeed, right? I love the way that pedal feels. I hate what it does to the low end. So when I decide that pedal is going to be my always-on pedal, I adjust my rig accordingly.
Right.
A little low, less bass on my amp, other things in line. So if somebody said, "Hey, you have to build a board around this," no problem.
Yeah,
100%.
right. Yeah,
By
you can do
tomorrow,
that.
I'll feel the same way I always do when I play. I'll feel totally comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's hear if we're walking away with one. Tony, what are you walking away with?
I know what he's going to say.
If I had to pick one,
And the tuner doesn't count.
and the tuner doesn't count,
Get the full-size one. It's better.
I'll take the one-spot power supply. No.
I'll take the Metro 20.
If I had to pick just one, based on what my ear hears,
Quit
it's
playing
the
with your
plumes.
oranges.
It's the plumes.
I knew it.
Plumes.
But if I was in a situation where I had to dial in things a little more so, I'd probably go with the Green Rhino.
Okay.
You're kind of cheating with the plumes though, because the plumes in
Yep.
clean boost, not as an overdrive.
Well, if I had
These are overdrive pedals.
I mean,
Let's
the
go with that.
symmetrical LED overdrive, I could live with. I could make that work.
And you'd still prefer the plumes?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay. Bobby.
So, two answers. If I had to add it to my board,
No,
Schraub's shaking
two
his head.
answers.
no. Well,
One-
hold on. What's the question then?
Would you rather? Well, I'd
repeat the
rather do
question.
both.
Which of these four pedals
Yeah.
would make it to your board?
To my current board is what you're saying.
Would make it to your
A new board.
your
You can only choose one.
overdrive
God.
need.
Whatever
your overdrive
scenario.
need. Which is going?
Oh,
which
my-
are you using
My
for your
overdrive need. I hate to say it because it's not fresh and exciting for me, the Green Rhino. My overdrive need, Green Rhino, because it is, like you said, there's a lot of, I don't know what the word is, overhead and underhead on the knobs. Like I never feel like I have to max out a knob to get what I want. There's always more than I need or less than I would want. And so,
Tweakability.
yeah, the sweep, the pretty much everything's landing, within 40 degrees of noon. I love that as an overdrive pedal. If I had to add it to my current board, it'd be the Cryptid. Love it so much. Going to buy one. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay. Rob?
Green Rhino. if I had to take one, I most of them do something better than another one does. But yeah, if I had to take one and put in many uses, it'd be the Green Rhino.
Interesting.
I think so. Yeah.
Interesting.
Todd,
Yeah.
He's gonna
he hasn't been
say
thinking
East
about this
River.
for like weeks. Come on,
he's gonna take the two.
you guys caught me off guard. I didn't know this was coming.
No, I think honestly, I'm probably going with the.
You were really excited about the plumes to start off.
I really was.
Yeah.
I did like the plumes
a great
very
pedal.
much. I'll go with the Banshee drive.
Okay.
Okay, so there we go. We did it. We did it. We did it.
We've done it.
Yes. I'm
time
already
for a
thinking
nap.
about the next one, which we won't talk
dear.
about right now.
We've
but
Dudzik it.
yeah. Anyways, that was a ton of fun. Guys, I really appreciate all the effort and thought that you put into this. We really did try to look at this as objectively as possible and take in all the things into account. That being said, go out there and make your own decision. These are 4 really solid pedals, so you're not going to go wrong, but you can go maybe a little bit more right.
I would
what
take
you
any
like.
of them.
Yeah. All right, Tanya,
Yes?
let's do this. Round the bend. Get us home, baby.
Okay. You know, Todd, at this point of the show,
Would you rather?
I have to say, real quick, this is so surreal. I haven't said it yet. I haven't said it once. It is an absolute honor to be on this podcast.
Oh, wow. Thanks, man.
I listen to it weekly. What's great is sometimes I'll go a couple months without listening, and then I just listen to it all day.
Did you know that we were here
No.
in Columbus?
No.
How?
I love
you
this
knew.
podcast. Well, I mean, I know Rob's in Columbus, but I thought he was like flying out to Atlanta or whatever. No,
Yes, on our massive budget.
Thank you guys sincerely.
private jets only.
Yes.
Thank you sincerely for having me. It means a lot. I'm so proud to be included.
Oh, that's
I love what you guys do,
Thank you, Bob.
and I think it's
Yeah.
really great stuff you're doing here.
Thank
and
you.
and I'm stoked to be a part of it. Thank
We
you.
really
But you're
appreciate
not
that.
done yet.
And you can Venmo me after
Yeah. Please
that.
make payment payable
Yes.
too.
for
Okay, go ahead.
$28 for that.
So,
comment.
Todd,
Yes.
as you pushed the button and we heard Jiminy Cricket sing,
Poor Jared.
yeah, poor Jared. At this point of the show's a little game we play called Would You Rather.
Uh-huh.
This one is brought to us by our good friend Mike Nationale. That's the guy.
So cool to be in the room for this.
So here it is. Now pay attention, everyone. There's going to be a quiz.
Oh God.
So Aunt Betsy is coming to visit, bringing 3 guitars owned by the late Uncle Wally. Oh, I miss him. I miss him most of all.
Rest his soul.
She's giving one of the guitars to you and the others to your 2 cousins. You get the first pick. That's cool, right? Here are the choices. Number 1. A solid body guitar with a neck through body, but the neck is fretless. Replacing the neck will do considerable damage to the guitar body and cost about $1,500. However, it is an old collectible Rickenbacker. Number 2. A black.
Is that a real model?
Yeah, there's just solid
Who
body.
cares? It's
Ricks.
got great
Would it have
resale
markers?
value.
What's that?
I don't even never wear it.
No, somebody took the frets out, apparently.
Cool.
They did not make a fretless
So it has
model.
poor resale value.
Okay.
Is what you're saying. Okay.
Right,
all right.
okay.
Number 2. A black beige trimmed 3 humbucker left-handed Gibson Les Paul Custom with a locking nut. The nut screws are one of a kind, and Aunt Betsy couldn't find the wrench.
Sick.
Plus, you're right-handed, right? Or number 3. It's a steel body guitar, shiny and new. It has excellent tone and fits perfectly in your hands. But it also has a grounding problem, and once in a while, it shocks the player.
Shock me.
It's an obvious choice.
Yeah.
I mean,
No matter what you wear or how you hold it, you'll get a zap through your body.
Okay. This is interesting.
what if you have your Red Wing work shoes on?
Yeah, true.
They're grounded, shockproof.
You're still going to
You're
get
still
shocked.
gonna get
Okay.
shocked. All right, Tony.
So I'm going, I
Yeah.
think you already know. I'm going with the Rickenbacker. And I don't think that you're going to have to replace the neck. I think we can just refret the neck.
Yeah.
And we'll try that first. But yeah, I wouldn't, I mean, if it's a neck through, you're not going to replace the neck.
No.
But-
Replace the body.
You're just taking off wings and sticking them on something else.
Yeah, exactly. So that don't work.
Which is odd because, oh no, I guess it could have been a solid body.
it's solid body.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the first line of the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
missed
they
that
did.
part.
They did make them that way.
Okay.
So yeah, and if nothing else, it's a cool wall hanger.
It's cool to have.
All right. There you go. What do you
What
do,
was
Bobby?
choice number 2, real quick?
That would have been the lefty Les
choice
Paul.
number 1.
Okay.
Number 1, Bob.
Okay.
Yeah, no, hands down. I would try it with the fretless thing. It would be cool. And like you said, worst case scenario, I have Chase Gullett put some frets on it and
there you go.
get her all shaped up. That's
Okay.
easy. Yeah.
So there's no requirement we're supposed to play these things. It's just if you're
Nah,
going to get one,
you're going to get
you
one.
can get one. Okay. The Les Paul.
Cool.
A lefty Les Paul.
Because you could sell it. Is that
No,
why?
I think it'll burn longer in the fireplace.
You just got to get one of those N95 masks for
Yeah,
that
that's
varnish.
fine.
Is,
Yep.
Yeah.
Todd,
I'm gonna go with the steel body.
really?
Shocking.
Yeah, that's one of those things. Like when you hear it, you're like, that sounds cool, man.
And you don't mind a little shock every once in a while.
That's okay. I don't have to plug it in. What up?
Oh, okay. You
Oh,
got
I
us.
found a big loophole.
What a group of fools we are.
Yes. Amateurs. Amateurs.
Indeed.
Okay. So thank you, Michael Nazionale.
Yes, thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah. Okay. Very
Always
good.
wanted to
Very
do
good.
that.
Nicely done.
You
Good,
did.
yeah.
Nicely
I turned
done.
away from the mic just in case.
That was perfect.
Tony.
Yes.
We need to thank a few people.
Oh, that's right, Todd, because at this point of the show, there's a special group of people we love to thank. These are our executive producers. Now, an executive producer helps make this show possible. How do you become one? Head over to patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs and check out a couple of different levels in which you can participate. Become a sponsor, a friend, a hero of the podcast. Each level comes with some very nice thank you gifts and opportunities to win great stuff. But in addition to all that stuff, there's one thing more. I'm wondering what that could be.
You get to have your name read on the thing.
Wow. Announcer voice, Todd.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to do right now. Your name read on the thing. So special thanks to these executive producers. Anthony Lathrop, Brett Hogarth, Cameron Pampas, Darren Gregory, Don Kloss, Elad Mizrahi, James Bell, James White, John Esterly from Rare Buzzes.
I know him.
John Sebastian, John Halverson, Justin Jones, Ken Sayers, Michael Senchuk, Mike Davenport, Owen Eads, Plutone, Ralph Gottschalk from Wonderful Audio Technology. What? Richard Kendall, Rick Calhoun, Rusty Sneeden, Stefan Lamb, Tom Barazin, Trevor Ellenberg, Trevor Gunberg,
All
Vader
the
and
Bergs.
Pedals, all the Bergs, all the Trevors, Vader and Pedals, and Ty Barnes.
Oh, I know him too.
Yeah. There you go. We know you.
Hi, Ty. Hello.
Yeah. Fantastic. Is that it, Tony?
No, Todd, you know better.
I do.
Because there's a special group of executive producers. We like to call them our grand poobahs. These are the creme de la creme, the top of the heap, the A number ones. And they wear a fez upon their head whilst listening to the podcast. So special thanks to these grand poobahs. Anthony Gemalero, Billy Spitfire Unlimited, Bob Crouch, Brian Robison, Cody Foster, David Kaminga, David Tyndall, Enrico Fernando, Fox Hill Studio, Gregory Randall, Hex Matos, John Williams, Martin Cliff, Matt Hart, Michael Van Zant, Michio Murakishi.
Are you reading these slower because you're tired, or
Mike
You're-
Nachina,
Yes,
Moon Guitars, Pedro Vasquez, Sam Jett, Steve Keys, James Pennington,
Yep.
Zach Oswald from Brandon Wow Pickups, and Jonathan Labate from M2 Labs.
Yes. All right. Thank you,
thank you,
one
thank you.
and all. Truly keeping the wheels moving on our show. If you have been thinking about jumping in with the rest of that motley clan, then do it.
It's the right thing to do, Todd.
The water's fine. It feels great, and and you'll be helping out what I think is a pretty decent cause. But being silly and talking about guitar stuff.
Highly recommended. That's great.
Anyways, all right, Bobby, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks
We're going to
for
have you
having me.
back on to learn more, just, kind of get to know you a little bit better.
I'd love to.
Your guitar playing speaks volumes of you, so I think that's qualifying enough. Where can people maybe see things, connect with you, see things that you're doing?
So on Instagram, Bobby Withers, the sort of the main band I'm in, Sugar Creek Country. That's a really fun band. Just started a new band, Trucker Carlson. It's Ben Anderson on drums and Jesse Jervis on bass, two super killers, and they let me play with them. So that's really cool.
That's awesome.
We tried to find the stupidest name we could, and I think we landed right on it.
Yeah.
No name stupider.
Yeah.
Also, a buddy of mine, Rooster XL, he's starting a thing, and I'm really proud of what he's doing.
That's
So,
awesome.
Nice.
Good.
I love that rooster.
Yeah.
Tony?
He's not a nice guy, but
He's not nice.
No, he doesn't work very hard either. So he's fine. He's a good guy to know. He knows other guys. Yeah.
For me, head over to pickguardian.com. Check out the stuff that I do. What do? I make pick guards for guitars. How do you get one? Shoot me an email. Let me know what you need, what you're trying to do, what materials you want, all the good stuff. It's your opportunity to make your guitar even more yours.
I
That
need
is-
like 10 mint green guards, so I might reach out to you.
Yeah.
He has those.
I got
Heavily
mint.
distressed.
I could probably do
Just like
that
me.
too. I'll just turn them over to my dogs.
Yep.
Rob.
Mad Cow Amplification, Instagram, Facebook. They're still there, just not
Right.
being updated, but they're still there.
Right.
So that's about it. Send
I
me an
won't, I
email.
won't let anybody else touch my amps.
Aw,
I mean, I've never met
I
anybody
haven't
better.
seen you in like 5 years.
And there's a reason for that, because
Yeah.
you did such a good job. Yeah.
All right, you can shoot me a DM on Instagram at Guitar Knobs. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what's up with you. We love meeting new people, and
We like Would You Rathers
We
too.
love Would You Rathers, yeah.
We like
can't
floors
make
on the
Bob
floors.
Crouch and Bacon and Nazionale do all the work. You guys, come on, chip in. Yes. And look for this. Look for another one of these coming in another maybe about a month or two. No, not a month. 2.
That's planned
Definitely
for
not
two.
a month. We're going to be busy. We're very busy in the next month. So yeah, we're going to keep doing this. It feels real good. Have a fantastic Guitar Week, everybody, and subscribe.
Mork.
Yes.
Mork.
Bork. Yay, Borster. I'm on the mirror. Yay, Borster. My name. Bork.
Ferrari got 2 disqualifications
In the
Chinese Grand Prix.
one?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to watch that. Tony. I did.
His headphones
Check 1, 2.
so he can hear me.
Are we gonna turn mine
that
on today too, or
ASMR.
no? Yeah. See, this is why.
And she was like, no, I'm playing. Like, it's go.
Are you going to clap or are we just going to sit here?
No, I'm going to clap. Here we go. I don't know what I don't remember.
I have
what we're
no
doing.
And we're
idea.
back.
I don't know.
Well,
Let's
these
just
two
get-
guys were arguing about their tabs or his tab, Bob's
Yeah.
tab.
Bob.
Bob's tab.
You were talking about the oranges. He made a
Oranges,
doctor
that's
joke.
right. Okay, we clapped there. Okay, here we're re-clapping.
Yeah. I'm going to be starting home improvement projects.
Whip.
See it shimmer, watch it
Yes.
glimmer.
Okay.
And
Rob, have you
obviously,
gotten all your crotcheties out?
it's unbecoming.
We try not to. There are.
course.
What? Are we doing something now?
Sorry, Rob. Did we wake you up?
Yeah.
See, I thought that was the one from like a few weeks ago, because there was like you have a time machine. You're transported back to.
Oh, yeah.
You can pick one band, and I was
I'm
like,
glad
oh shit,
somebody
who was,
knows.
I was like, who was playing that year? I started googling like, what if they asked me a question like this?
Right. He was,
Why do you have oranges?
He's the only one. Why
mandarins.
not?
It's-
These are the best.
It's ASMR, dude. He's gonna
of,
eat them
but
right
of
into the microphone.
everything,
Do you
'Cause-
call them mandarins or cuties?
These are cuties.
Those are.
Yeah, how about it?
I've been waiting for about 25 minutes.
I've
now.
been waiting.
Hopefully, Rob and I come to blows over this.
We're going right down this way. Bing, bang, boop, bop. And away we go.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.